All right, so AI writing code, it seems like every day it's doing something new and crazy. I mean, just yesterday we were amazed by like AI that could just like generate simple scripts, and now it's like taking on full-on software engineering gigs. It's moving so fast. So today we're doing a deep dive into this new research paper from OpenAI. It's called SWE-Lancer, and it's trying to figure out like what's really going on with all this. Can AI actually code?
Yeah, it's SWE-Lancer is getting a lot of attention because it's not just about, testing if AI can code in like a perfect little world. They're like actually throwing AI into the real world arena of freelance software engineering. So they're using like real tasks from Upwork.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and get this, those tasks have like real dollar amounts attached to them.
Okay, so it's like AI is going head to head with human freelancers on those platforms.
Ex
That's a pretty intense test. I mean, what are these tasks that they're giving the AI, and how much money are you talking about here?
Yeah, so the tasks are divided into two main categories. So first, you've got the individual contributor tasks. Like your classic software engineering stuff, like fixing bugs, implementing new features. And then there's the SWEM management category, which focuses on evaluating different solutions and picking the best one.
Okay.
And for the payouts, they range from like a quick $250 bug fix to get this a $32,000 complex feature implementation.
Whoa, $32,000. That's serious cash. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes you wonder if AI could actually start like undercutting human freelancers, on platforms like Upwork.
It's a real concern, and it's one of the reasons why this research is so important. It's not just like a thought experiment, it's giving us a peek into like the real economic impact that AI could have on this field.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I've heard about AI coding challenges before, and you always hear about this issue of greater hacking, where the AI is kind of like figuring out how to game the system, without actually solving the problem.
Right.
So how does Sweelancer like address that issue?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it was something the researchers were very aware of. To prevent that kind of cheating, they use what are called end-to-end tests. These are tests that are developed by, actual professional software engineers. And instead of just like checking if the AI spits out the right code, the right lines of code, these tests look at whether the code actually does what it's supposed to do in like a real world situation.
So it's not just about, writing code that looks pretty. It has to actually function correctly within a larger system. Can you give us an example of what one of these tasks might actually look like?
Sure, let's take that $1,000 bug fix that we talked about earlier. So the problem was that there was a mismatch between the avatar on a share code page in the Expensify app and the user's actual profile picture.
Okay.
Sounds minor, but those little visual things can really bug
Oh
people.
yeah, for sure.
So the AI was given, the code base, the bug report, and it had to figure out how to make those avatars actually match.
I could see how that would be annoying for a user. All right, so we've got these tasks, we've got these potential payouts. Now for the real question, how did the AI actually do? Did it manage to like rake in all that virtual cash?
Well, not quite millions, but it wasn't too bad. The researchers tested several, like cutting edge AI models, and the best performer was Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It managed to earn around $400,000 out of a possible $1 million.
Okay, so not quite replacing human engineers just yet, but still a pretty impressive haul. What I'm really curious about is how did the AI perform on those different categories of tasks? Was it better at writing code or was it better at managing projects?
That's where things get really interesting. The AI was consistently much better at the management tasks than at the individual contributor coding tasks.
Huh.
It seems like it excels at, evaluating solutions, figuring out the best approach, and even like understanding potential risks and trade-offs involved.
So it's better at being the architect or the project manager
Yeah, it seems that way.
than like the actual coders. Why do you think that is? I mean, is it something about the way these tasks were designed, or is there something like deeper going on there?
I think it speaks to the different cognitive skills that are involved in each type of task management often requires like a broad understanding of the project, right? Like the ability to weigh different options and maybe even like a bit of intuition about what's going to work best in the long run.
Right?
And AI seems to be getting pretty good at those things, actually writing clean, efficient code, especially in a complex real world environment. That seems to be a bigger hurdle for it.
So it's not just about, knowing the syntax and spitting out lines of code.
Right.
It's about that higher level understanding and problem solving that humans bring to the table. But I mean, 40% of the potential payout is still nothing to sneeze at. So I'm guessing there are some limitations to this study. It can't perfectly replicate the real world of software development. right?
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. There are several limitations to keep in mind. Like, for one, the AI was only working with text input.
Okay.
In the real world, software engineers use, diagrams, flowcharts. They even like whiteboard things out to help visualize and communicate their ideas.
So it's missing that visual and collaborative element that's so important to, software development.
Yeah, exactly.
What else should we be aware of?
Another key limitation is the lack of like real-time interaction. The AI couldn't ask clarifying questions or get feedback from clients like a human freelancer could. It was working in a much more isolated environment.
It's almost like trying to write a novel without being able to talk to anyone you know or experience the world around you. You're missing so much context. So what does this all mean for the future of software engineering? I mean, are we all about to be replaced by these AI coders?
Well, hold on a second. I wouldn't say it's the end of human software engineers just yet. I mean, the results are impressive, but it's way too early to say that AI is going to take over. Remember, this is just one study. At one point in time, AI is constantly changing. So who knows what will be possible even just a few months from now.
Yeah, that's true. The tech world changes faster than anyone can keep up with. But even if AI isn't replacing jobs tomorrow, this research does kind of suggest that there are going to be some pretty big shifts in how software development works. You mentioned that AI was actually better at those management tasks. So what are the implications of that? Could we see a future where AI is like calling the shots and humans are just, coding the details?
That's a really interesting question, and it's something that the researchers themselves, actually talk about in the paper. They point out that because AI is so good at these management tasks, it could lead to like a whole new way of dividing labor in software development.
Okay.
So we might see AI systems taking on roles like, project planning, risk assessment, even code review, while human engineers, focus on those parts that still seem to challenge AI, like the creative problem solving and the really intricate coding.
So instead of replacing human engineers, AI could become like a powerful tool that helps us do our jobs better?
Exactly. It's not necessarily about AI versus humans, right? It's more about finding ways for them to work together.
Yeah.
So we can leverage each other's strengths and ultimately build better software. And there's this interesting detail in the study that kind of shows how this collaboration might work. They used what they call a user tool in those individual contributor tasks.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Something about simulating a user interacting with the code that the AI wrote.
Exactly. So the user tool basically acted like a virtual tester. It interacted with the code and then gave feedback to the AI about whether the code was working the way it was supposed to. So, for example, if the AI was supposed to fix a bug, but the code still didn't work correctly, the user tool would flag that.
Ah, so it's like giving the AI another set of eyes to see, the results of its work and then learn from its mistakes. Did the researchers say anything about how effective this user tool was?
They did, and the results are pretty fascinating. Overall, removing the user tool only caused a small dip in the AI's performance, but for the AI models that were already performing really well, the impact was much more significant.
So the AI models that were already kind of like, at the top of their game, they were actually relying on that feedback loop to get even better.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Huh. That suggests that even for AI, being able to learn and iterate is really important. It's not just about having all that processing power. It's about how you use it to learn and adapt.
That's a great point, and that finding has implications for how we design AI systems in the future, right? It suggests that building in ways for AI to get feedback, to iterate and even to collaborate with humans could be the key to unlocking its full potential. And that's not just in software development, but in lots of other fields as well.
It sounds like we're moving towards a world where AI is less about replacing humans and more about, making us better at what we do. But even with this user tool, the best AI could only earn about 40% of the total possible payout. So what were some of the specific challenges that the AI really struggled with?
Well, the researchers pointed to a few key challenges. One is just the inherent complexity of real world software development. I mean, it's not just about writing code in a vacuum, right? You have to understand what the users need, you have to anticipate potential problems, and you have to work within all the constraints of a specific project and an existing code base.
It's like the difference between, writing a song and producing a whole album, right? You've got to think about all the different instruments, the mixing, the mastering, the overall sound you're going for. It's not just about the individual notes, it's about how they all work together.
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. And that's something that AI still seems to struggle with. It can do really well with individual tasks like identifying a bug or writing a specific function, but it has a harder time grasping the bigger picture, understanding how all the pieces fit together.
So you can see the trees, but not the forest.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where human intuition and experience come into play. Experienced software engineers, they have this deep understanding of how software systems actually work. They can anticipate problems and they can just connect the dots in a way that AI can't quite do yet.
It's a been there, done that kind of knowledge. Okay, so even if AI isn't replacing us tomorrow, it's clear that it's going to change things in a big way. Do you think software engineers need to start specializing in different areas to kind of stay ahead of the curve?
Well, that's a good question. It's still early, but it's very likely that the role of the software engineer is going to evolve. We might see more specialization with some engineers focusing on high-level design and architecture, while others become experts in collaborating with AI systems, understanding their strengths and limitations, and knowing how to best use them.
So maybe instead of just software engineer, we'll have AI architect or code whisperer or something like that. It sounds kind of futuristic, but it makes sense. This whole conversation has got me thinking about, what skills are really going to be valuable in a world where AI is doing more and more. If AI can handle all the routine tasks, what's going to set human engineers apart?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's not just relevant to software engineering. It's something we're all going to have to think about as AI becomes more integrated into our lives. I think skills like critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and the ability to adapt and learn new things quickly are going to be more important than ever.
So it's not just about knowing how to code. It's about being able to, see the big picture, think outside the box, and work effectively with these new AI tools.
Exactly. And I think that leads us to something we haven't really talked about yet, the ethical considerations of all of this.
Oh yeah, we've talked about the potential impact on jobs. But what about the quality and security of the code itself? Can we really trust AI to build software that's safe, reliable, and free from bias? That's a big question. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are worried about that right now. I mean, on the one hand, AI could help us build amazing software, but then you think about, safety and security and even bias creeping into the code. Could AI make things worse?
It's definitely a double-edged sword, and it's something we have to be really careful about. But the good news is that people are working on these problems. There's a lot of research and discussion happening right now about how to reduce these risks.
That's good to hear. So what are some of the things that are being done to make sure that AI-generated code is actually good code? Code that we can trust.
One of the most important things is the data that's used to train these AI models. If the training data is biased or has errors, then the AI is going to learn those bad habits. So there's a big effort right now to create better data sets for training AI, more diverse, more representative, and higher quality overall.
Makes sense, garbage in, garbage out. But even with good data, can't AI still make mistakes or introduce vulnerabilities that humans might miss?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why another focus is on developing better testing methods specifically for AI-generated code. So these tests need to go beyond just, does the code work? They need to be able to spot potential bias security flaws and other issues that might not be obvious right away.
So it's not just about functionality, it's about making sure the code is safe, fair, and responsible. That sounds like a tough challenge.
It is, but it's a challenge we have to face. The potential benefits of AI in software development are huge, but we can't let those benefits come at the cost of quality, security, or ethics.
It seems like we're at this crossroads, right? We have this powerful new tool, but we have to figure out how to use it the right way. Do you think developers need to change how they code knowing that AI is going to be more and more involved?
I think it's pretty much guaranteed that the role of the software engineer is going to change. We might see a shift away from the traditional way of coding, individual coders working on our own, and move more towards collaborative approaches where humans and AI are working together.
Like a kind of paired programming, but with an AI as your partner. That's an interesting idea. What skills do you think will be most important for developers in this new world?
I think things like critical thinking, problem solving, and communication skills are going to be key. Developers will need to understand AI, its strengths and weaknesses. They'll need to be able to spot problems and biases, and they'll need to work with AI in a way that gets the best results without, cutting corners.
So it's not just about writing code anymore. It's about thinking critically, communicating clearly, and being able to work side by side with these AI tools.
Exactly. And it's about being flexible and willing to learn new things. AI is changing so fast that what we know today might be outdated tomorrow. So developers who can keep up with those changes, learn new skills, and adapt to new ways of working, they're the ones who are going to thrive in the AI-powered future.
Well, we covered a lot today. We talked about what AI can do, the possibility of working with AI, and the ethical questions we need to think about.